What's up, guys? It's time for happy hour. It is Tuesday, May the 26th, and it's over. Guys, time to get something in your glass. It's time for happy hour. We are kicking off week 10. Can you believe that? Week 10 of happy hour, guys. We've been doing this for 10 weeks. You've been right here along for the ride. And it's a great, beautiful, amazing day here in Austin, Texas. Get something in your glass. Let me know where you are. What are you drinking? It's a great day. It's time for happy hour. Let's have a little fun. Feeling good. What is up, Leah and Ann? Y'all, I have missed y'all. We had a day off yesterday, so I haven't seen you. I haven't seen your name on the screen. I haven't seen you commenting on happy hour. Brian, yes, it is week X. I like the way to think about that. Week X. It is week 10. Sean watching in the ATX, drinking the Las Jarras. I still haven't been able to find a bottle of those wines. I need to figure that out. Alta, Cloudy Frisco, drinking Mousse. I love it. Katie, happy Tuesday from Richmond. About to crack open a local brew. Cheers to that. I had some Lazarus Brewing, brand new Austin style IPA. First ever beer brewed with a new experimental hop. I'm stoked about it. It was a collaboration with a brewery that hasn't opened yet. I'm all about the beer, guys. Y'all, I've been obsessed with this song throughout quarantine. It's amazing. Dan's having some Enchante in Canyon Lake. Mark and Wimberley. Sarah, good to see you again. Drinking One Way Vineyard Marsan. Hi, Tiffany and Veronica. Carignan 2016. My Memorial Day was very low-key, I'm not going to lie. A lot of rain, a lot of sitting in my front yard. I'm reading Dune. Y'all, I don't know if anybody's reading Dune right now. You know, they're coming out with a movie. It's a long book, so it's good for quarantine. Just saying. Eric and Asha, my San Antonio peeps, drinking some high-quality H2O. Okay, guys. You know, when the song cuts out, I think that means it's time for me to kick this off and get it started. Folks, I've had a few minutes to get in here. I know coming out of the holiday weekend, we all really needed happy hour. This was a Tuesday that felt like a Monday. Let's be honest, but it's over, so it doesn't matter. And now you got something in your glass, and we're going to have a little fun. Hold up. It's been a little while since we've had a first-timer, so I want everybody to shout out and say hi to Donna, Sunny, Lee, McKellar. Welcome to the first happy hour. This is week 10. We've missed you the first 9 weeks, but we're so glad you're here. Hopefully, you'll be back. So everybody say hi. Oh my gosh, this is two people. Murray, what is up? More new people. I love it so much. Guys, we're so glad you're here. This was something we created 10 weeks ago as a way to mark the end of the workday, to get something in our glass, doesn't matter what. Log on and connect with other people. You know, we don't have to stick our laptop in our bag and walk out the office door anymore. So we needed a way to mark the end of our workday and connect with folks and have some fun. And along the way, we get to nerd out about some wine. And today we are going to have some incredible nerdery happening. And that's because, and I'm going to take you to her now. Christina, how are you?
I'm so good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Miss seeing your face around Austin. So maybe you'll kick us off and tell us, where are you located and what are you drinking?
So I am in Houston, where I live now, in the March Lounge, which is not yet open, but will be soon. And I'm drinking some Louis Roederer Brut Premier champagne because it is delicious and pretty affordable. So. Oh
my gosh. I'm a little jealous. I'm having some Methode Champenoise, William Chris wine, but I do love some Roederer, and I just love champagne in general. Bubbles is my language, and I'm so glad that today you're going to get to tell us all about all things Grande Vallee. If you know, I'm probably mispronouncing the French, but guys, we're gonna dig in, and I'm not gonna jump the ship a little too early here, but we're gonna really dig into like a sub-region of a region within Champagne. So we're gonna talk about a pretty significant pocket within Champagne that's not very big, but is really important, and you're gonna wanna know a lot about it. And Christina's gonna school us on why we should be rethinking things. So I'm going to bring you back in a little bit. I don't want to spoil your fun because you're the teacher, and I'm actually super stoked. I was telling my friends earlier, like, I'm going to sit and learn and listen today. about things that I don't even know about in Champagne. So I'm stoked. So we'll see you in a little bit. Cheers, friend.
Okay.
Happy hour.
See you.
All right, guys. I'm super stoked to have Christina on here today. Let's say hi to a few more folks that have shown up since we got kicked off. Brian, Mary in Brazoria, dipping into the Pet Nat supply again. That's a great wine to open after a holiday weekend. It's never not a great wine. I just want to drink Pet Nat like one a day. Keeps the doctor away or something. That's probably bad advice. You didn't hear it. That's not medical advice. You shouldn't. Maybe you should. If you want to have fun, a Pet Nat a day. Okay. Ken, drinking wine in San Antonio. Mark, guys, let's talk about what I'm drinking so we can get to Christina because she's got the real nuggets today. Hopefully, you know by now this wine. William Chris, back in 2014, decided to do a Champagne method wine with 100% Texas grapes. All right, guys. Champagne method means secondary fermentation happens in the bottle. Methode Champenoise is the fancy French way to say champagne method. Okay. So all these grapes are coming from the 2014 vintage. They are 100% Blanc de Bois. So you guys know that is a hybrid grape grown here in Texas pretty widely, a white grape. This wine spent 4 years on tirage or 4 years on the lees. Okay. That's a long time on the lees. And if y'all remember our Wine Nerd segment with Mandy Nelson, remember she came and talked about extended lees aging in secondary fermented wines. That's what this is. 4 years on the lees is a very long time to sit on the lees. And it does some really great things. Those lees, they start to break down. They start to integrate in the wine. They can cause a perception of sweetness. Let's see if that is happening here. Yo, woo, that's super tart. It's kind of that little makes you twitch. It's so tart. Elevated acidity for sure. For me, this shows up a lot like white flour. So you guys know, like Blanc de Bois is an aromatic wine, so it's unique to use such an aromatic grape in a sparkling wine like this. So you're still getting a lot of the white flour that you typically get. I think there's a lot of like honeydew melon here, cantaloupe or honeydew melon notes for me on the nose. And then, yep. I mean, you add that like almost like lemon custard kind of note. Definitely has the lemon note. The elevated acidity helps that. And it starts to have almost this like custardy thing going on. This is going to be great on the front end of your wine as an apéro. You're going to want to do this with some like cold seafood. You could totally do oysters with this. You could also do this for dessert, something creamy. You know, I'd be careful going too intense on the flavors because the aromatic parts of this wine, those intense flowers, some of that melon could clash with flavors. So I would go something like a mild creamy dessert, maybe like a vanilla cheesecake. Maybe with some creme fraiche. Ooh, tell you what, like creme fraiche and strawberries, like a simple fresh dessert like that would go super well with this wine. Anytime you have effervescence and you got high acidity, those creamy things are really nice because the acid and the sparkle cut through the creaminess. So it makes it very nice. And per usual, when we get to the food pairing part of what I'm drinking, I'm hungry now. I will say, guys, I'm very proud of myself. Yesterday, I cooked a cowboy burger in my cast iron on my stove because I don't have a grill. We've talked about the fact that I don't have a grill. So that cowboy burger was like that thick. My whole burger was like that tall. I was very proud of it. So hope you had a good Memorial Day. I'm glad we're back in the saddle talking wine. And that, I think, in Alan's asking, do we have any Methode Champenoise? Maybe one of my William Chris folks. I think it's in the shop on the website, but I could be wrong. Maybe Leah or Anthony is out there and they could verify that. We didn't make a ton of this, guys. We had to make the decision in 2014, guys. That's 6 years ago that we were going to make this and lay it down. And so there isn't a ton of this wine. So if it is available for sale, you need to go buy it up because the stuff's going to be gone soon. So go take advantage. It's a special, special wine that we made. And I have actually new glasses. I got these really beautiful Sophie Involved tulips. specifically made for sparkling wine, and I got to break them out today. So, happy hour, guys. Cheers. All right, party people. Well, it looks like the Methode Champenoise is on the website. Go check out that comment. Let's bring Christina back. Christina, good to see you. Guys, before I let her take over the mic, I have to brag on her because she is a badass in wine. First, what you need to know is that Christina and I met while she was working at Geoffrey's here in Austin. You guys know we've had a lot of like current Geoffrey's employees and former Geoffrey's employees, mainly because this guy spent a lot of his time and money there drinking wine, but also because they had an amazing team there, still have an amazing team there. And it was just a great place for wine professionals to work who know a lot about wine and who are great teaching people about wine. So I myself have learned a ton from these folks. Very thankful to have Christina here. Sad day in Austin's world when June Rodil left, Master Som June, left Austin to go to Houston to join Goodnight Hospitality. But because, you know, like we still love each other in the wine world, we're also excited for them. June hired away both Christina and Skyler to go work for Goodnight Hospitality and help open March, which she has already mentioned to you is not open yet.
Yeah, you're getting a sneak peek right now.
Oh, it's very pretty. I mean, no surprise. I mean, if June's got a hand in it, I mean, you always have great style and fashion. Maybe before we jump in, can you just tell us, like, what's the concept at March? Like, what kind of food is it going to be? What's the idea behind the restaurant?
So we are a fine dining tasting menu with a Mediterranean focus. So you kind of think of Rosie Cannonball downstairs being more of like a casual Mediterranean. It's kind of a step up here. And we have an incredibly deep cellar. It's going to be really, really fun to explore. So
yes, you do have a stupid deep cellar. I joked with Skyler that after you guys started selling those wines for retail, that, you know, we can get hand deliveries in Austin still, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
No. Okay. Christina, jump in for us. I would love for our folks to know, one, where are you originally from and how did your wine journey get started?
So, I mean, originally I was born in like a cornfield in Nebraska, but kind of have been making my way south. So lived in Oklahoma for 13 years, lived in Dallas, came to Austin. I've moved around a lot, but my wine career, or where I started in wine, I think was born out of my love for food at a very young age, my love for cooking. I ended up studying in Italy for 2 summers when I was in college, in Florence and Siena. And it was the first time I saw wine as an integral part of a meal. And it was just like really a really important moment for me. And it kind of piqued my interest into that side of dining. And I will not lie, the Somm movie had a big impact on me getting interested in the court. It's a little, you know, it makes me feel a little embarrassed.
No, I mean, I feel like that's a huge part.
It was really impactful to me. So
yeah, same here. And I think also too, like I think people get embarrassed about talking about things like, well, my first wine was Franzia. And I'm like, hey, we can knock Franzia all you want or Yellowtail or whatever, but like it's a lot of people's entry point in beginning to learn and understand and enjoy wine. And there's no shame in that.
No, for sure. So that's definitely how it started for me.
I love it. Okay, well, I would love for you to jump in, guys. Today, we're going to be talking about, and I'm going to try my best French here, but I'd love to hear you pronounce it because you actually spent time there, the Grande Vallee of Champagne. It is a sub-region of Champagne, but that's all I'm going to try and talk about because Christina's the expert here. Christina, I'm turning the mic over to you. Talk to me about Champagne in the Grande Vallee.
Well, so kind of what inspired me to, you know, because Dee was asking, like, what would you want to talk about? And obviously, like, Champagne is always going to be the thing I want to talk about, but what subject? And I had just seen these Instagram posts from Jean-Baptiste Lecaillon, who is the winemaker for Roederer. And they were all these soil samples of vineyards all around Champagne, just showing the incredible diversity of the soils in Champagne. And I was like, this is something people don't talk about, especially with the public very much until kind of right now, because we've always just talked about big brands and house styles, which is super cool and important. But I think that the grower champagne movement and organics and sustainability have really made us focus more on looking down at the soil, caring about where the vines are getting their nutrients. And we're realizing that champagne is more than just chalk, which is really cool.
I love the idea that, like, you know, I think a lot of people, when they hear the word champagne, they assume that like it's all the same. Like it all just, especially as a general consumer, it's just like, oh, just pick a bottle. It doesn't matter. It's all going to taste the same. It's all a blend, whatever. It has bubbles, like just open it, you know?
Exactly, because I think that it's been spoken of as being more important how it's made than what it's made from. You know, you talk about the secondary fermentation, which is super important, but I think we're seeing that the raw materials are actually like really dynamic. And so in that vein, I'm going to kind of talk about first the three major regions because it'll give us a basis to talk about soil. So you have like the Côte de Blanc, the Montagne de Reims. Oh yes, the map will be helpful. So the Côte de Blanc, the Montagne de Reims, and the Valle de la Marne. So talking about chalk, like when we're in the Côte de Blanc, the chalk is super close to the surface and it's really uniform. So Chardonnay is just really, really happy. You go into the Montagne de Reims, especially that horseshoe portion you see on the right hand where it's like a horseshoe on its side. That's where you have more clay on top of that chalk. And so Pinot Noir is much happier than Chardonnay would ever be there. So it makes sense. It's like 90% planted to Pinot Noir in that horseshoe. And then you have the Valle de la Marne to the left. And that's where the chalk bedrock is kind of like descending lower and you have way more sand and clay. And it's pretty humid because of the river. So Pinot Meunier loves it there. And already, like, even talking about that, like the chalk, depending on where it is and depending on the topsoils, makes a huge difference on what you can grow.
I love that. And so just to recap here, I put this up on the screen for folks. The Côte de Blanc is usually thought of as like the go-to for Chardonnay focused champagnes. The Montagne de Reims is Pinot Noir focused champagnes, and the Valle de la Marne is Pinot Meunier focused champagnes.
Exactly. And so what's interesting, first there's two things that are interesting as a little like side note of what's super cool about all these soil studies is that they're finding little pockets of champagne where really weird soils are showing up. So for example, like I know you're a big fan of Pinot Meunier and the Valle de la Marne. So good. So Mousse Fils, who is in the Valle de la Marne, they have some vineyards that have a particular type of soil where it's almost like a green mica that's mixed with the clay. And so it looks like green clay. Super weird. You don't see it anywhere else. And they're making a single bottling from this because it gives like a mushroom umami kind of flavor to the wines. That's really cool that one, they're paying attention, and two, that they're separating it so you can really experience something different.
Totally agree. It was a joy. I got to meet Cedric when I was out there and like hang out in his house and do a tasting with a couple of folks at his like dining room table. I'm freaking in love. And they're doing a lot. They're bringing in a lot of new technology. Their stuff is growing pretty exponentially, I feel like right now.
Yeah, no, he's super cool. And that bottling is Terre de Lite. And we have a huge standing on Cedric Mousse's wines here at March. So when we open, y'all should come drink it because it's going to be great.
Done.
And then, like another example of that is Ulysses Colin in the Côte de Sézanne. He's got a vineyard that has silex, like in Pouilly-Fumé, like black flint. So you get like a smokiness that comes through with his Chardonnay. And it's like, so
wow.
Cool.
I have not had this wine, and now I have to go find a bottle of it.
Yes, it's Ulysses Colin. It's his Leoise. So it kind of looks like the word for king, Roises. It's really, really delicious. So that's a side note. It's just like because people are paying really close attention and studying their soils, they're finding random stuff in there that's cool. So
I love that. And so we've talked about these kind of like general larger regions, the main three regions of Champagne. I know that there's other pockets you guys probably see on the screen there. There's a Côte de Sézanne, there's the Aube, but today we're really focused on the Grande Vallee. So maybe take us there. Where on the map are we going to talk about the Grande Vallee?
So the Grande Vallee is kind of tucked in between the Montagne de Reims and the Vallée de la Marne. And so, yeah, basically there.
Well,
And so, I know, I wish.
It's kind of like right here.
Exactly. And so it's a really historic area because IE is the only Grand Cru in the Vallée de la Marne, and it's where Bollinger is. It's where Henri Goutorbe is. It's considered one of the best places for Pinot Noir in all of Champagne. What I've found to be super interesting, and I'm taking a lot of this, like I am not an expert, all on my own. I'm taking a lot of this from Peter Liam's new Champagne book, which I think is mind-blowingly amazing. He's looked at the Grande Vallee and gone, you know what? We call this a part of the Vallée de la Marne, but there's only 16% Pinot Meunier here compared to the Vallée de la Marne being like 75, 80% Pinot Meunier. And he's like, well, why is this? And it's because the soil types are actually much more associated with the Montagne de Reims. So, for example, and a lot of this has to do with like the chalk being close to the surface. So, for example, when you enter the Vallée de la Marne, it's pure chalk and it's mostly Chardonnay being planted there. I visited the Grande Vallee when I was in Champagne last year, and I stayed in Marolles-sur-Aille for 2 days. And this is where Philipponnat is located, Billecart Salmon. This village has chalk on one side and clay on the other. And you have completely different expressions, even just within this own village. But it's much more close, the Montagne de Reims, even though we've been thinking about it as associated with the Vallée de la Marne.
I love that. And so maybe start to talk to me about like if that's the case and the topsoil is going to be different and, maybe there's more chalk than in other parts of the Vallée de la Marne, how is that affecting what grapes I'm growing and then what wine I'm making as a producer?
So, and it's a little bit twofold because it's climate and soil. So Pinot Meunier can really handle being in clay soils that are pretty damp and wet, and Pinot Noir likes the clay, but it doesn't like the wet. And the thing about the Grande Vallee is while the Marne is coming through it, it's an open sort of plain. But once you get into the Vallée de la Marne, everything narrows up along the river and there's a ton of fog. And this fog causes a lot of moisture, a lot of humidity, and even botrytis, like you can have mildew. Pinot Meunier handles this really well. Pinot Noir and Chardonnay don't. So it makes sense why the minute you kind of get into the Vallée de la Marne, it's mostly Pinot Meunier being planted because it's hardy enough to handle it. Pinot Noir likes to play, it just doesn't like to be wet. It doesn't like its feet being damp.
Pinot Noir is such a finicky, high maintenance grape.
It is. It really is. And so it's like you have to find the very perfect place in the Vallée de la Marne if you want to be able to grow it. And sometimes you can. But
so yeah, can you, as a case study, tell us about like a particular Grande Vallee Champagne and how it is a departure from its like brothers and sisters in the same kind of region?
Yeah, well, I mean, so for example, the Clos de Gouas is located in the Vallée de la Marne, and this is a really unique and historic site because we're in Marolles-sur-Aille. It's a huge hill that's actually one of the steepest, if not the steepest, vineyard in Champagne, where you're looking at like 50-degree slope. I mean, I've been on top of it and you're just like, oh my God, like you could like ski down this thing. And if you look, they have portions of the hill carved out. You can see that chalk goes all the way up until like 2 feet of the surface. It's crazy thick, solid chalk. And so the wines from Clos de Gouas, which Philipponnat is the primary producer, are really intensely mineral, and yet because it faces full south, it gets all of the sun. They have this like rich layer of fruit on top of them, which is gorgeous and very ageable. But on the other side of the village, you have Billecart Salmon's Clos Saint-Hilaire, which is another single vineyard, 100% Pinot Noir on super deep clay, so way less chalk bedrock, and it doesn't have the slope. So it's like, it is a hulk of a wine. It's got a lot more girth. Even though the Clos de Gouas has all of that richness, it has that steely kind of center. you get even further west into where Clos Saint-Hilaire is, and it's a different beast even in one village, which is cool.
I love that. And I love that, we've started as wine drinkers appreciating and seeing the difference in different pockets of Champagne, and not just thinking like, oh, it's got the word champagne on it, so it's all just going to taste the same. And honestly, like I was there probably like a year ago. I still didn't, and I'm still learning. Like I was lucky enough to go to Champagne last year. And I think that that totally changed the game for me, because I got to taste, wine after wine after wine after wine right next to each other. I'm like, oh my God, this is so different. I can't believe I ever thought that, this is all just one general category. But I to your point, I credit Peter Leem and guys like him and these producers who have been courageous enough, because a lot of these people just used to be farmers, and they would just sell their grapes to the big houses, and all the big names that we all already are familiar with got to take all the credit, the Veuve Clicquots of the world. And there's nothing wrong with big houses of Champagne. They make beautiful juice. And I love some big house stuff, but these smaller grower producers that Christina's talking about are both farming the grapes and making the wine now. And when they do that, you get this really great expression of that one place and what it can do and what it can produce. And that's just more interesting to all of us, right? I mean, it's one of the reasons many of you are watching. One of the reasons you love William Chris is we are 100% Texas grown, and we do so many single vineyard wines. Like, you guys are getting to taste that place during that year. And so at Champagne, this kind of move to treat Champagne more like wine rather than this like totally separate category has been really cool. So maybe I can ask you this, Christina, if I want to get into really tasting the interesting Grande Vallee and some of these grower producers, like how do I, as a wine buyer, as a drinker, go find these people? I've put Philipponnat and Billecart Salmon in there, but you also mentioned Mousse and how do I do that? How do I go find growers?
I would say, well, definitely finding growers. I mean, luckily, because of Terry Thies and all of the work that he's done with his portfolio through Skurnik, we have so much more grower producer wine available to us, which is amazing. I would say, as far as Grande Vallee producers, I already told you the big guys like Philipponnat and Billecart, but like smaller guys who are killing it. Marc Hebrard makes gorgeous wines. René Geoffrey, what I love about him, have you had René Geoffrey's wines?
How do you spell the last name?
It looks like Geoffrey almost.
Oh, yes. Oh my God. I'm obsessed with Geoffrey. Yeah. How do you say it?
Geoffrey.
Geoffrey.
Yeah, sounds very fancy.
Yeah.
So he's located basically where the Grande Vallee ends, on the western side. And this area is known for having like an exceptionally warm microclimate. So his wines just have like so much generosity of fruit and like pretty, like they're just like very gregarious, they're like so easy to drink. And to me, they're such a great entry level kind of style for people who don't drink Champagne very often, because they're not bitingly mineral, bitingly acidic. They've just got a lot of like happy, warm hug sort of quality to them. And
hey, I'm all about right now. I could really use a happy, warm hug. I mean, exactly. I've got one of those in a while. So if a wine wants to do that to me, I'm in.
Yeah, no, it's so great. And so his wines, like I know you can find like his Rosé de Saunier on the retail shelf, and it is legit. We sell the Expression out of our retail shop, which is his non-vintage entry-level wine. And because he's like right on that border between the real Vallée de la Marne and the Grande Vallee, you see Chardonnay and Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier pretty equally throughout his wines. So
I love that. I want to make sure I spelled that right there. Did I spell Geoffrey correctly there? Let's see.
Yes, I believe. Yeah, I
the end or an O-Y, I can never remember, or an E-R-Y.
I'm like, is it O-Y or E-Y? It might be O-Y at the end.
It might be O-Y. Guys, if it looks like Geoffrey in English, just remember Geoffrey, and then you can worry about the French pronunciation. The stuff is so good.
It's so good.
Mousse we talked about earlier.
The Vallée de la Marne, if you want to experience like true Meunier of the Vallée de la Marne. You know, they make a wine called Le Vigne de Mon Village, and it's a wine that's 100% Meunier, dedicated to Cedric's father. Did you have? I wonder if you had it when you were there, but
yeah, definitely did, and it's amazing.
To honor his father, who was mayor of that town for 25 years, and he Meunier was his thing. So, yeah, try some Mousse Fils.
Yeah, and guys, I can't reiterate this enough. You've heard me say this till I've been blue in the face with so many of these guests. You hear the way that they just spout off producer names, right? That's something that we all could grow in, myself included. And you will get so much more enjoyment out of your wine experience if you can start to save a list of wines that you've enjoyed and the who behind who made it. Not, oh, it was a Napa Cab, or oh, it was a Spanish Red, but no, the actual name of the person who made it or the people who made it, the producer, is going to go so far in helping you really enjoy and find other great gems, because you can come to people like Christina and be like, look, I really like Mousse, who else should I be drinking?
Exactly.
And then you can kind of take off a path in a different way, and she can be like, well, if you want something just like it, taste this neighbor. Or if you want something that's on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, taste this other person. And as wine drinkers, guys, that is a pro tip to the max. Start to learn the producers that you enjoy and bring those names to wine professionals and let them help you explore things that are similar or different in other places. So I love that. So we've got a fun question here. Shawn is asking, can you talk a little bit about Special Club Champagne? Yes, please, because I love it.
Oh my gosh, Shawn, I know you. I delivered wine to you. So the Special Club is really cool. It's basically an organization of grower producers who have decided that, they have to go before a tasting panel of their peers, enter their top wine to be included in the Special Club. Some of the requirements are that it has to all be your own estate fruit. Which the thing about a grower producer is they can buy up to 5% of their grapes. So that would be why there'd be a discrepancy. But yeah, it's basically this group of people who are trying to kind of put forward an even higher standard. And it's always their top wine. So Mousse Fils is a member, Pierre Gimonet.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with the Special Club champagne, but it's fun too, because it is kind of a guarantee, you're going to have an amazing experience.
I think the thing that was crazy to me was the tasting trials, the multiple tasting trials that they have to go through in order for that wine to actually even make it, with the special bottles and the packaging and everything. Guys, they and it's the people who make their own champagnes tasting your champagne. So it's the top growers tasting the top wines of the top growers. They're basically their peers and being like, I christen this wine as special.
Well, and it's cool too, because Mousse Fils made the very first 100% Pinot Meunier Special Club. So it's that's really freaking cool.
So cool. Also, I came back and it's still in my fridge with a bottle of 100% Pinot Blanc Special Club.
Ooh, interesting. Huh.
And I am stuck. I knew you were going to ask me that, and I should have remembered who the producer was. I don't remember who the producer is. I'll get back to you. But guys, we've been talking about Meunier, Chardonnay, and Pinot Noir. Those are the big daddies, the big three. There are also some other old school varieties that are permitted in Champagne. And I can't think of the name of the producer off the top of my head. I'll find it and I'll put it in the comments later. Or it looks like you might be Googling it and you might find it faster than me. I haven't tasted it. I found out about it while we were there. We tasted through a lot of wines. He obviously didn't have one of his Special Club bottles open necessarily for us to try, but it's going to be stinking cool. Pinot Blanc champagne. Are you kidding me? 100%. It's going to be cool. Anyways, this is super nerdy champagne stuff. I hope you really enjoyed it. I've had a blast talking about it. Christina, thank you for dropping the knowledge. I'll probably go back and rewatch this. Guys out there, actually, Christine, can you do me a favor here? Can you explain the difference for folks who, if they don't know whether or not a bottle is from a grower producer or a big house, that little code on the label. Can you remind them what that is and teach them exactly what they can look for if they want to find grower champagne?
For sure. So the idea is a negociant or one of the big producers who's purchasing a lot of grapes will be labeled NM, while a grower will be labeled RM. The only difficulty you have with this, kind of especially in the last 5 years, is that some growers are labeling as NM now because they might be, for example, like Valle Sorbet is doing this, as is Mousse.
Yeah, I was gonna say Mousse had this issue because I was talking with him about it while I was there. I was like, everybody moved to this whole, you got to look for the RM on the label. And I was like, but you're a grower. Like, what's going on? It says NM.
Same with Bareche Fils. So the issue is land in Champagne is so expensive that many people, instead of buying more land as growers, they farm their neighbor's plot, and then they purchase the grapes, but it's like they're the ones farming it from their growers, so they don't have to actually purchase the land. So they have to label as NM because it's not technically theirs, but they're still farming it themselves. I would say the best way, like if you want a really amazing reference for your grower producers and for your negociants, I'm going to plug him again because I love him and I want to meet him. Liam's champagneguide.net.
Okay, I'm gonna scroll up. I had that in the comments too. I was like, I thought you were gonna say Terry Thies.
Oh, I love him as well. But yeah, the champagneguide.net, just across all the portfolios, has the most information to tell you, like, oh yeah, these guys are still growers, but they're just not labeled RM anymore. And so it's just, things are getting kind of complicated. But yes, RM will still usually tell you that it's a grower.
I love that. And it's something that helped me get started, guys. And once you start to figure out on the back label who the importers are that bring in these types of producers, then you can start to look on the back label and be like, oh, it was this Terry Thies selection, like a Skurnik. They do a lot of grower producer. Then it's probably, you know, it's a good bet that this is somebody I'm going to enjoy. So I have to ask you this question before I end the Wine Nerd segment. If you were going to tell people to go out and buy one of the champagnes that we talked about today to maybe like just really kick it off and get to know the uniqueness that you've been discussing today, what champagne should they go buy?
Okay. I would say,
and maybe give us like a more entry level and then like a really special, maybe hard to find bottle.
So I would say for a more entry level, I would get Marc Hebrard. He makes both his regular non-vintage, but even his selections, which is his like upper tier non-vintage. His wines are amazing. I also want to give you like a grower and a non-grower option. So that's my grower option. Marc Hebrard, amazing. His selections non-vintage is one of my favorite wines right now. It's gorgeous. But then if you want to like splurge, you really like bucket list champagne, need to try Clos de Gauisse. You can drink it now and it'll amaze you. You can drink it in, 30 years and it'll amaze you. So
at some point after we finish, I'm gonna need you to find the Facebook post and write that name out because I'm not even going to attempt with my terrible French how to spell that. We have our friend here chiming in. Skyler says Ace of Spades.
Wow. No.
Agreed.
They're not really in the Grande Vallee, so it doesn't apply to this conversation.
Okay, so that was Marc Hebrard. You gave us the other higher end one. And remind us one more time what you're drinking.
Oh, yes.
Because that's such a great wine for folks to go get to know.
Yeah, y'all. So you can find this. Let me try to center it. You can find this pretty much anywhere. It has good representation. It's Louis Roederer's Brut Premier. It's just very classic. They're not doing anything crazy. Like, it's stainless steel. It's got like a very regular level of dosage. It is just a perfect wine to have when you're just like, man, I need a bottle of champagne today. And they are certified organic. They're like doing really amazing things. Please look at Jean-Baptiste Lacaillon's. I'll type it in so I can give it to you. But his Instagram, because he is one of the most active people on Instagram with education in champagne, and it is amazing. So
I love that. We all need more champagne nerdery in our life. So I love it. Okay. Thank you so much. This has been incredible. Guys, it is late, but I have some very important announcements and you don't want to leave. And the reason is today I have to let you know that we are going to go on a little bit of a hiatus with happy hour. So let me talk to you about these three things. Christina, if you can be thinking who you want to cheers to while I go through these three things. So guys, important news. Let me start first with, we are reopened to tastings to club members, okay? And that's just for the time being. But if you're not a club member, while we're open just for members, you can get into the wine club without the wait list. The moment that we open to the general public, that will go back on a wait list, okay? We still have some spots in our wine club. You want to get in before we go back on a wait list, because ain't nobody likes to be on a wait list, okay? So go get that done. Members only, we're open for tastings, all right? Second, before I get to the important news, this is also very important. We have another virtual tasting on Saturday. We're going to do it at 2 p.m. There are only 10 packs left that have a bottle of Verjus and a tin of high estate rosemary salt. Y'all remember Chef Ty's been making rosemary salt from rosemary on the property. And we've been making Verjus from our green grapes. Guys, we green harvest some of the grapes because, especially with our Tannat, we need to get rid of a lot of the clusters because it's such a vigorous vine. And we turn those green grapes into green juice and we make Verjus out of it, and you can cook with it. So the next 10, it looks like the next 10 packs of virtual tasting get a bottle of Verjus, the tin of rosemary salt, and the 4 wines. So like, go make that happen. And then third, guys, this has been an utter labor of love. I have enjoyed so much, guys. 9+ weeks. This is week 10 of happy hours spent with you, having great guests like Christina, wine nerding with you, dancing on screen, almost getting shards of glass in my leg from an exploded bottle of Pet Nat. There's been a lot of things, guys. We've been through a lot. I've had such a freaking blast doing it. But it's time for us to really focus our time and energy on doing a world-class job of reopening the tasting room, of really spending our time and energy doing that. Now, this is not the last time we're going to do a happy hour. We will do more virtual happy hours in the future, but it's TBD on the timeline. So it's going to be really important for you to keep your eyes and ears open. We're going to let you know when the next one's going to be, but we don't have that date right now. So guys, we love you. We're so excited you spent your happy hours with us, and we want to continue to connect with you. For me personally, if you want to reach out to me, you can find me at ddrinkswine on Instagram or at my email, d@williamchriswines.com. You know, the most complicated email address in the world. I'd love to hear from you guys. This has been a huge part of my everyday because I've been on camera with you, and you guys are legit part of my life for the last 2 months. So to all my regulars, guys, this has been a freaking blast, and I'm sure I'll see you back on camera at some point. But it's time for a little bit of break and time for us to spend our energy helping reopen in a very good world-class way. So become a wine member. Come see us if you're a wine club member. We're reopened for tastings. Love you guys. Christina, will you cheers us out? Who are we cheersing to today?
Oh, there's so many people. I wanna cheers to hospital workers, partially because my mom's a nurse, my best friend is a nurse. I love them all, but also I want to cheers to the guy who cut my hair today in these kind of conditions. And like, I really appreciate everybody adjusting to this weird life we have right now, and it's really amazing. So
love that. Well, cheers, friend. I appreciate that. I appreciate you, and hope to see your face soon. Hopefully I can be able to come to Houston and dine and drink wine and all the fun things. So yes. Thank you for everything. And cheers to all of you out there, guys. Love y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So good.